What is going on, Only Playbook fans? We are back for another episode. We did quarterbacks, we did running backs this week for the draft. We want to talk about wide receiver. Show it. Really, really good talent. I felt like a lot of people talk about how this isn't a super strong wide receiver class, but I felt like the top 3-4 guys, could be wide receiver ones in almost any class. So I was pretty impressed with what I saw. I think I went into it with lower expectations because of the rhetoric around it not being such a strong class. But how did you feel going through the wide receiver evals?
Yeah, I mean, compared to last year, it might seem like not as good because last year you had Bryant Thomas, Marvin Harrison Jr., and all these different talents that were just. It seemed like there were rounds after rounds and third rounds you were getting a really good quality. Whereas it may not seem like that this year, but like you said, I think. Top 3 guys, I really like the number 1 guy. I think I'm really excited for him. He reminds me of a guy that we've talked about a lot in this podcast. So I actually enjoyed going through this eval for the wide receivers.
Yeah, same. I felt the same way. And again, it's always about expectation because I went in thinking that it was a weaker class, and I'm watching some of this tape, and I'm like, I'm pretty impressed with what some of these guys are doing. Yeah. So we'll talk about it. Sometimes, again, you hear the rhetoric, and it puts this preconceived notion in your head, so it allows you to see things a little bit differently. So let's talk about it real quick. I want to highlight a couple of guys who didn't even make my top 5. It's hard to do a top 5 right now because we haven't even seen the combine yet, and I feel like some of these guys will jump into my top 5 if they have an insane combine because it's hard to gauge athleticism when you're just watching tape specifically. So real quick, show of it. Some guys who didn't make my top 5 that I feel like I need to highlight just because they have some form of skill set that's kind of an X factor. Number 1, Isaiah Bond, Texas receiver, transferred out of Alabama. I don't know if you watched his tape. He's just insane fast. This guy's probably going to run like potentially a sub 4.3. He's could be challenging Xavier Worthy for speed. And he was a hella big recruit. So went to Bama, transferred to Texas, but never really found his footing at Texas, got hurt. 5'11", 180. So he's a smaller frame, but again, Worthy was 5'10", 155, I think, coming out. So he's tiny, and Bond at least has some size on him, at least some mass on him with similar speed. So you're always going to try to take flyers on guys with insane speed, especially because he was a highly touted recruit. It's just what I saw on tape at Texas is inconsistency, a lot of easy drops for a guy who's so fast. I mean, he just needs to catch the football and he can make explosive plays happen, but too many easy drops on tape, not enough consistency, not enough connection or chemistry with Ewers or Arch Manning or whoever was playing. So it just felt with the injury, with the transferring, it was a weird year for Isaiah Bond, but I still think the prospect in him is pretty insane for that size and speed. So I have him outside my top 5. Wouldn't be surprised if, at the combine, he runs an insane 40 and he starts climbing up draft boards. Did you watch Isaiah Bond at all? Any thoughts on Isaiah Bond?
Yeah, I did. He's little, but he's stocky and fast, and he has pretty good route running too. So, and speed. I didn't from the guys that I kind of looked at as far as top 5. There's not like explosive speed that jumps out to you. Whereas the guy you just mentioned, like there's definitely a speed factor there. So, I watched a little bit of him, but he did not make my top 5 either.
Yeah, same. I mean, he's got the track speed, and you always have to be conscious of that because somebody that can put it all together on the football field with that speed is going to be insane. Another guy I wanted to highlight real quick, TCU wide receiver Savion Williams. This guy's a little bit interesting because he seems like such a physical freak. He can play everywhere. 6'3", 228. Now, this guy just gives me hella Cordero Patterson vibes. They line him up in the backfield. They give him handoffs. They give him end arounds. He catches passes, screen passes. He doesn't have the polish in his route tree yet. So that's why he's not like a prototypical wide receiver that's a surefire home run to take in the draft. But because of his athleticism and his ability to be utilized in like a Debo, Cordero Patterson-esque way with the size, 6'3", 230 almost. So he is built like a tank. I just think he's going to find a spot in the NFL because of his size and his ability to create after the catch. It's just he doesn't have any polish in terms of like being a complete receiver that I just couldn't put him in my top 5. But the athleticism makes him really, really intriguing. I think he'll find a nice home somewhere. Savion Collins there outside the top 5. Another guy I wanted to highlight, show it, Pat Bryant out of Illinois, 6'3", 200 pounds. I feel like if this guy was in most people's consensus top 5, top 10s, and then I watched his tape, I'd be like, yeah, I can see why he's that good. But he's outside everybody's like top 10, top 15. When I watched him, I guess taking not into consideration how low he ranked on people's boards, I was very, very impressed. I was like, this guy seems like he should be a top 5, top 10 receiver. He's got the size. He moves really, really fluidly. He's able to catch 50-50 balls. He played in an Illinois offense with Kyle McCord, who actually, is it Kyle McCord or was it Altmaier. I forget. I think it might have been Altmaier, who also was a QB that I really liked. And I just felt like they had really good connection. Pat Bryant was a weapon in the red zone. He's really good at finding spots in the red zone to get open, big body. So it's easy for a quarterback to like him. So again, a guy that's outside a lot of people's top 15s. I don't know why he really gravitated to me when I was watching his tape. He's got really nice size, maybe because he doesn't have elite speed or elite athleticism, but let's see what he does at the combine. I think his draft stock could rise as well. And then the last guy I wanted to highlight that a lot of people have in their top 5 show it that I can't quite put a pin on him because he seemed like a late riser. I don't know. I can't quite figure out how to evaluate his tape. It's Matthew Golden, the other Texas receiver. He's in a lot of people's top 5. I mean, he's 6 foot 195. He was a 2-year player out of Houston, transferred to Texas, and really shined actually in the playoffs more so than the regular season. So kind of took over in the playoffs. It seems like he does everything pretty well. There's nothing that he doesn't do well. Just nothing really stands out to me, but he's a late bloomer. I'm more intrigued to see how he does at the combine to properly rank him. But right now he's still not in my top 5 because I just felt like he burst onto the scene pretty late and his evaluation to me feels a little incomplete. I don't know if you have thoughts on Matthew Golden.
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, he didn't make my top 5 as well. I don't think there's anything that flashes from Matthew Golden. He did step up when, Isaiah Bond was dealing with an injury, but I just think that there's just not enough. And this is where, like you said, the combine is going to help determine if he, moves up in the draft rankings, I think.
Yeah. Yep. So those are some guys I wanted to highlight. There's other names for sure, but I think maybe we'll touch on them more if they make some noise in the combine. We can readdress this episode. Was there anybody that didn't make your top 5 show it that you felt you needed to highlight?
I really just focused on top 5. I thought that I just really wanted to hone in on that. So I just I have 5 people here. So yeah, I think we should just jump into our top 5 list.
Yeah. Give me your top 5. Let's go.
All right. So for number 5, I have Tre Harris from Ole Miss. Number 4, I've got Emeka Egbuka. I hope I don't mess up these guys' names. Number 3, I have Luther Burden. I really like Luther Burden. Number 2, Travis Hunter. And then number 1 receiver, I have Tet McMillan from Arizona.
Yeah, pretty similar top 5 here. My number 5 is going to surprise a lot of people. I have Jayden Higgins, Iowa State receiver, as my number 5. 6'4", 215 pounds. I really like him. I feel like he's just not going to test super well for most people, but he is the definition of a football player. He has size to be a problem in the red zone. He has a size to be a problem against undersized cornerbacks. And he also is very fluid. He's not super fast, but what I really like about him is coming into college, he was a 0-star recruit out of high school. So for somebody to make a name at a college that doesn't pass the football that much in Iowa State, 0-star recruit, has the size. I think there is a chance that the combine is going to vault this guy into people's top 5s. Doesn't drop the ball. He's so just fluid with the way he catches the ball for that size. Again, I think he's going under the radar because there's a lot of other players that offer particular skill sets that maybe he doesn't have one that flashes above else. But Jayden Higgins is my number 5. Emeka Egbuka is my number 4 as well. Ohio State, 6'1", 205. Number 3, Luther Burton as well. Number 2, I have Tet McMillan, and number 1, I have Travis Hunter. So pretty similar top 5s. Talk to me about Tre Harris. He didn't even make my top 10, but there is a lot to like with him because he's just kind of an interesting situation. So talk to me about what you liked about Tre Harris.
Yeah, let me tell you about Tre Harris. He's a wide receiver prospect from Ole Miss. I think he's got, he's just like your true X receiver, really good route running, crisp, and he can do a lot, right? You can have him play off the screen, you can have him play off the deep passes. So as far as like a wide receiver X, I think a lot of teams are going to be looking for a guy like a Tre Harris, and so I just think that Ole Miss also has like a good in terms of program and competitors as far as like the defense goes, and so it's just a good program to have receivers come from, and Tre Harris kind of proven himself in that sense. So I do like from a true wide receiver X standpoint, I think Tre Harris can bring a lot to the table to the NFL.
Yeah, I mean he's following in the footsteps of the guys like DK Metcalf and AJ Brown, all who went to Ole Miss, right? So they have that prototypical type of receiver, and he kind of fits that with the size and the way he plays. But again, similarly to DK Metcalf, maybe not even quite there. He doesn't have that same level of speed. He doesn't have that same size and like freakness to him, but he does have that same like lack of polish in his receiving route tree. So again, I think DK Metcalf came in and carved himself a really nice role in the NFL. And we always talk about why doesn't he get more? Why doesn't he get more? But there is limitations to what he can do. Right now, that's kind of how I view Tre Harris, but a little bit worse than what DK Metcalf brought from a college perspective. So he could certainly fit into the mold of what we want to see. But there's also another receiver that went to Ole Miss that was a first round pick that wasn't AJ Brown or DK Metcalf. That was Laquan Treadwell, who was a massive bust because he wasn't fast. So we don't know which side of the coin that guy's going to fall on, but let's hope he's AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, and not Laquan Treadwell. So not bad. I mean, again, I really liked his tape. There's some flashy plays there, but not enough all put together for him to make my top 5. Emeka Egbuka, we both have him number 4. Shovit. He's just another receiver that's coming out of Ohio State that's incredibly productive, that can do just about everything. What I really like about him, though, is he has. So we talked about speed. He doesn't have like it's weird. He doesn't have like the twitchiness in and out of routes, but Emeka Egbuka looks like he has some insane straight line speed. So once he starts going, it seems like he's really, really fast. So that's why I'm interested to see if this guy could run a sub 4.40. If he runs a sub 4.40, I think he's going to be a first round wide receiver. If he doesn't run a sub 4.40, I think he's going to probably be like high second round, but he does everything. He catches the ball. He's really, really quick. He doesn't have like the 3-cone drill where you have guys who are fast, but they don't have that agility or quick burst in the short space. I'll be interested to see the difference in how fast he is straight line in a 40 versus how quickly he runs that 3-cone drill, because the quickness is what we're looking for. Because of his size, I don't know that he's going to play much of an X receiver. So he's probably going to be more of a slot receiver. So we want to see him get in and out of breaks fast. So that 3-cone drill is going to be huge, but he can catch the ball. He finds soft spots in the zone. And when he's going straight, I think he's like a sub 4.4 guy. So let's see what the combine shows for him. But it seemed like on tape, there's really not a lot to like. He just continued to get overshadowed. He was playing with Olave Wilson. Then he played with Marvin Harrison Jr. Then he played with, now he's playing with Jeremiah Smith. So he's continuing to get overshadowed, and he's been in college as long as all those guys who are now in the pros. So I don't want to forget about this guy because I still think he's super solid. There's just some guys above him that offer a higher ceiling.
For me, Emeka Egbuka is like one of the safest picks in this draft. And I think he's a slot receiver, and his comp really is like the prior Ohio State receiver in Jackson Smith and Jigba, right? They play very similarly. And this guy might be actually quicker than Emeka Egbuka. I think he's reliable. He's a good route runner. And like you mentioned, he's got good speed, but it doesn't look like top explosive speed. It just looks like crisp route running and can have that burst, but it's not like super fast, like, your Xavier Worthy types or anything like that. But I think his route tree is really good. He's going to go in, and a team that already has a solid, I keep thinking like the Steelers with George Pickens, and you need another slot receiver, right? He's going to come in and fit that role. And I think he can make an impact day one. So to me, he is like first round grade because of that, of the impact that he can make. But he's not as flashy as some of the other top 3 guys that we're going to talk about. But I like his floor. I think the floor is really high, and that he's going to bring something to the table day one.
Yeah, I think he reminds me a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown, because he's 6'1", 205, right? So for 6'1", you're never like 6'1" guys should be a slot only receiver, but you look at the way they're built and how they play. Like Amon-Ra is pretty big; he's over 6 foot, but when you look at him, he identifies as a slot only receiver, similar to Egbuka. Like he's 6'1", 205, so he's able to block in line if he needs to. He's really, really good at finding space inside. So I really think that's a pretty valid comp to him. But Amon-Ra St. Brown's been an incredible receiver, and I do think Egbuka has a chance to be even faster when he tests at the combine. So there's a chance he's got huge upside, like you said, and a top round grade or first round grade on him. Number 3, we both have Luther Burden out of Missouri. Number 3, Shovit, what did you like about Luther Burden?
Luther Burden, to me, the comp that I've heard that's like ridiculous and just blows my mind, but I get excited about is Antonio Brown. All right. This guy, did you see that? Footwork is next level, right? And the thing about, first of all, I do want to preface with that Luther Burden's stats are not very good, right? When you look at the stats for last year, it's like over 600 yards. I think 6 touchdowns or so. So, it's not like some of the other guys will see 1,100 or 1,300 yards, right? Like really good numbers. We're not seeing that, but I think that's testament to the team that he played for, not very good quarterback. And that was a whole situation there. But I think that his fundamentals and what he brings as far as talent, what he can do with the yards after catch ability, I think his footwork is next level, great at route running. And then he's really good at tracking the ball in those deep ball situations too, right? So that's going to be huge for him. So I think all of that being said, this guy has a potential to maybe not be Antonio Brown, but bring that kind of like quickness, agility into the receiving, just as a receiver, be able to quick and catch balls, deep balls like that. I think that's going to be very valuable.
Yeah, I saw that comp as well, and I feel like the closest guy that I saw ever get close to that comp was Malik Neighbors last year, and I thought that was like his change of direction and acceleration when he changes directions, like Antonio Brown-esque. I don't think Luther Burton's quite there. 5'11", 208. So for me, his like a better comp for me was Stephon Diggs. So it's not quite like that same level of change of direction where he's explosive, but Diggs has that twitchiness to him that Burton has as well. He's really good after the catch. He's slightly undersized, but similarly how I felt with Diggs, when you throw a 50-50 ball to Diggs, I never felt like he was too small to make a play on the ball. And at 5'11", even though Luther Burton at 5'11" seems like that should be small, he's not. Like, he plays bigger than his size indicates, especially catching, high pointing the football. So last year coming into the draft season, he was the number one wide receiver coming into this class. So I know things change over a whole year. Like you said, quarterback play was awful. Missouri's offense was awful. So I don't knock Burton more so, but I think just the situation that he was around has had his draft stock fall slightly. So if somebody gets him, end of the first round, middle of the first round, I think you're getting a steal. Again, Stephon Diggs is my closest comparison, but it seems like he has a little bit better top end speed than Diggs did. So that'll be interesting to see, but there's really not a lot to not like about Luther Burton. I think he's going to be a really, really good football player. All right, Shove It. Do you want Travis Hunter or do you want Tet McMillan?
I had Tet McMillan as number one, so I can take him. And I think you had Travis Hunter as your number one, so you can have Travis Hunter.
All right, so Travis Hunter is my number one receiver. That doesn't mean I don't like Tet McMillan. I think Tet McMillan is insane. I think he's really, really good. I think he's gonna be fucking awesome. But the reason I like Travis Hunter, and it's hard to not overlook somebody like that, is it takes a certain level of stamina, a certain intelligence level. There's so much more that goes into it when you're a football player that has to play both offense and defense. And not only are you playing he's not playing like a rover safety that's just, that's just making sure he's overseeing the field. He is playing number one corner on the best receivers anytime Colorado's playing against another team, right? So just imagine you're running all your routes on offense, and then you're basically running all your routes on defense because you're mimicking what the receiver is doing. That is insane to me. And people have him as the number one corner in this class, which I do as well. So for people to have him as the number one cornerback in this class, and he also plays receiver, and most people have him as a top two receiver in this class, like, his talent level is unmatched. It's something we've never seen. Or Deion Sanders maybe was the last guy that we've seen. So it's very, very rare that we see something like this. And I can't overlook it because when I watch him on offense, the way he's fluid, the way he kind of has like short bursts of acceleration to get away from his cornerback reminds me a lot of Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson had that same like ability to quick twitch and make slants and just get just enough away from his defender. And then after the catch, he is insanely electric and athletic. 6'1", 185. So the 185 is slightly undersized, but 6'1's a great size. And again, he has the nimbleness. He's just so intelligent with like football as a whole that supersedes some of the things that I don't think he quite has is the polish in like the top of his route tree, which again, if he was only focusing on wide receiver, there's no doubt in my mind that he'd be able to be like insane at that. But the guy is playing two positions and two of the hardest positions in football. So I think it's incredible what he's doing. Garrett Wilson is my like closest comp to him. But again, Deion Sanders has to be the comp because no one else has ever done this. And so, similar to how we saw Shohei Ohtani come into baseball and be like, well, do we know if he's going to be successful or not? The guy is doing it. So like, until he proves that he can't do it successfully at the next level, there's nobody like him. So it's hard for me to put anybody ahead of him. So that's why Travis Hunter is my number one prospect and receiver in this draft.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, like a guy that's been able to play as long as he has in college in both positions, and be durable. I think there's something to it, and be the number one in both of those positions. But I do think he needs to pick one. I think he should just like hone in on one position and really craft that. I think, and no knock on his game. I think they're both either or, cornerback or receiver, are great. Again, really good route runner, just a smart, high IQ player is what I think Travis Hunter is. And and rightfully so. I feel like if you play cornerback and receiver, you know how the cornerback is going to be when you make this cut one way or other, and so you're probably just you just have a lot more experience in that sense. But I'm going to talk about Tet McMillan. He's the number one guy that I have. He's standing at 6'5". He's he's a tower. He's a towering presence, and his comp to me is Mike Evans. Mike Evans also at 6'5", around that same 212 pounds. And he just has exceptional hands. His catch radius and ability to win those contested balls is what you see kind of like from Mike Evans. He can get those 50-50 balls more often than not. And he doesn't seem like he's like has to be too spectacular catch guy, but he can make those catches that are seemingly where only the receiver can get it and no one else can get it. That big body of him really helps him out, and it also helps him out in his route running. So when he's running these routes, you see him like using his body to kind of shield away from the defender and get that catch. And so I think that's going to be an amazing asset that he'll bring into the table. He's a guy that he was a focal point of the Arizona offense. And so I think that he commanded a lot of the targets, and he produced as well last year over 1,300 yards. So I think that he's going to come into the NFL, make an impact day one. And just 6'5", being able to catch like that, route run like that, that's going to be an advantage day one. And the thing about Arizona's quarterback is he's not a very good quarterback, right? Like in week 5, he had like 9 interceptions. And so he also holds the ball a lot. And what I saw from Tet McMillan is that he had built this rapport with his quarterback where he was going places where the quarterback needed him to go on these like long plays that had been out of the pocket, in these kind of situations where this is where being smart and knowing as a receiver where you need to go. If you're lined up on the right side, you make your way all the way to the left and you can, help out your quarterback. You're going to get the ball more often. So I think he can build rapport with the quarterback, and his skills are just going to be a great mesh. So I'm on the Tet McMillan train, and I'm really liking what I see from him as far as the tape goes. So I think he's going to do well.
Yeah, I echo a lot of those sentiments. He goes by T-Mac, so I don't know what his nickname will be in the pros, but T-Mac, 6'5", 210. I don't mind the Mike Evans comp, but I think it almost does a disservice to T-Mac. What I've noticed about him is he's so much quicker than Mike Evans is. Mike Evans, like you said, what Mike Evans does well is at the top of his routes, he's able to use his big frame to shield the defender. So that's why even if he's not creating a ton of separation, he's got great hands. So his hands are strong. So he's like using his body to contort the defender off him. It's almost like a box out again when you're rebounding, right? The thing with T-Mac though is T-Mac, the way he breaks out of his routes are pretty similar to Mike Evans. But what I like about him is the nimbleness in his hips when he's like shifting one way and then faking the defender out. He moves like somebody who isn't 6'5". So it's almost like you're watching somebody move who's like 6'1", but he's 6'5". So he's not fast. So don't get me wrong. He's not going to like burn you similar to Evans. But I think Drake London is a better comparison. And what's crazy is most people say that and then they say Drake London's better. Dude, I think T-Mac is better than Drake London. I think everything that Drake London does, T-Mac does, but T-Mac is actually quicker. T-Mac actually can break in and out of his routes better. So I think when you have that size, a lot of people don't expect you to be able to separate as long as you can high point the football, use your body, but he can also separate at 6'5". So I think that is just an insane talent to have that very few receivers possess that ability to do. And again, Mike Evans made a living contested catching the football, right? You never see him 5 yards open unless it's like a zone play or something like that. But this guy actually will break in and out and shift his hips so that his cornerback is on skates and falling down. So there's a lot to like with Tet. I just think if Travis Hunter wasn't a two-way football player, I'd probably have Tet over him. But the athleticism that Travis Hunter possesses, I'm just like, that's a guy that you could give the football to any which way and he could hit a home run for you every single play. I don't know for sure that Tet can do that, but I do know that if you throw a jump ball to Tet, you're going to like your chances. So really, really, really good football player. I mean, to me, I would have probably had Tet McMillan, and Travis Hunter ahead of Rome Odunze last year, but I don't think I don't think I would have had them ahead of Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. So that's kind of where these receivers stack up for me if you want to compare them to last year's class. But dude, still so much talent. There's so many good players that I didn't even talk about. Xavier Restrepo out of Miami. I don't know, man. I feel like I could go on and on about the receiving class. I just think when we get into a draft year where folks are hellbent on, needing a position, like a specific position, and then you see that there's value in another position. I'm looking at a team like the Vikings, even the Steelers. The Steelers need a number 2 receiver pretty desperately. I don't know if you're going to go in next year hoping Roman Wilson's that guy, but I feel the same way about Addison being somebody that we're not going to extend to another contract because we're paying Justin Jefferson. So the Vikings could also be looking at Addison's replacement in a year, or a number 3 receiver. And dude, 3rd round, 4th round, there's some really, really good guys that I think are going to come in and make immediate impact. So I'm really excited for the wide receiver class this year. I think it'll be awesome to see the value picks that we get. And the combine is going to be super telling on if we have some of these guys completely rise or not. So if for some reason the combine is insane and our rankings completely shift, we might have to do another ranking episode to see what's changed between now and then. So really, really good receiving class. Again, definitely not as underwhelmed as most people tried to make it out to be, in my opinion. So that's how I felt about that. Any final words about the pass catchers coming into the NFL draft here, Shobit?
No, I mean, I think we've talked about it, and you're right. If once the combine's over, we might have to do another episode. I think that might be a good idea of just the receivers.
Any dark horses that you're hoping land in the black and gold?
Man, honestly, like
don't say Tet McMillan. He's not going to go to the Steelers. We know he's not dropping to the Steelers.
I wasn't going to say Tate McMillan, but I think that since George Pickens is, that alpha receiver, I feel like Luther Burden, honestly, as a slot guy, I would be okay with that. We've already talked about the Antonio Brown comp, and I know Roman Wilson is there, but we don't know what we're going to get from him. But the more the merrier, honestly.
Yeah, dude. I mean, at 21, Burton's probably got a good chance to be there. And if he's there, kind of might want to pull the trigger there. So we'll be excited. We'll be very, very exciting to see. Let us know in the comments if there's any receivers we didn't touch on, somebody that we need to watch some tape on and really, really reevaluate because they deserve to be in these rankings. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. It helps spread the word. That's my Twitter. I'm Sweetcard. That's Shobit, his Twitter. Socials, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, @TheOnlyPlaybook. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a fantastic weekend. We will be back next week talking about the tight ends. See you guys.